Hi, and I'm Tangelo, and I'm a Latina role model. And I want to tell you, cut your excuses in half and face your fears. Fears are holding you back to becoming who you are meant to be in this world. Everybody has the potential to become whoever they decide to do. Follow your passion, follow your dream, and you'll be happy always.
Are you proud to be Hispanic? Hispanics in Florida now have the first Hispanic car license plate in the United States. Be a proud Hispanic.
Put the Hispanic plate on your car.
I want to be a doctor.
I want to be a scientist.
I want to be an engineer. I want to be a police officer.
I want to be a professional dancer.
By getting the Hispanic plate for your car,
you will support scholarships and community programs.
Call now or visit HispanicAchievers.org.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of EduTV. I am your host, Greg Perkins, and today we have one of Orlando's finest citizens, Mr. Harris Rosen.
Thank you,
and we
sir.
also have another fine gentleman, Dr. Dziuban, Professor Emeritus at University of Central Florida. Welcome.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you so much.
Mr. Rosen, I have a daughter who attends high school here in Orlando, and I ask her, I say, if you were interviewing Mr. Rosen, she wants to be a journalism student, I say, what one question would you want to ask him? And so the question is, what has motivated you to give back and to share so much success with other people who have not been as fortunate as yourself?
That's really a great question. Mm-hmm. And I'll try to make it as succinct as I can.
Sure.
Grandparents came from Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Austria-Hungary, settled on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, went through Ellis Island, Rosenowski to Rosen, Rosenhouse to Rosen. They brought their families over, each had another child, and I was a result of the two of those children marrying and having me. Mm-hmm. My brother and I grew up in the Lower East Side, Hell's Kitchen. And one day I'm taking him to the library, and which we did fairly often. And there was a Gray Line sightseeing bus there. And we were curious, why would there be a sightseeing bus in our neighborhood? Nothing special to see there. A couple of ladies got off, very nicely dressed, and one turned to the other, I'll never forget this, and said, "So this is how they live."
Oh, okay.
Well, I didn't understand what that meant. Mm-hmm. What was so different about how we lived? And so took Ron home and asked Mom, what was that all about? And she shared with us. She said, not everyone lives in a project. Not everyone plays their games in the streets. And so that's what the ladies were talking about. That memory has been with me all of my life. And so when I've been blessed beyond anything I've ever imagined, mm-hmm. As I have been, I remember that conversation with those two ladies, and it occurred to me that a helping hand would be something that I might be able to offer to those that just need a little help. Mm-hmm. And so that was what motivated me and has motivated me all my life, not to forget those that need a helping hand. And so that's what I'm inclined to do.
That is absolutely awesome. What a wonderful story. Tell me a little about the Paramore Project. Of course, before I came on, I read in the thing that you're doing with the pre-K and also the scholarship. So right. Tell me about how you got involved with that.
Well, first about probably around 21 years ago, we decided that it was really time to give back in a significant way. Okay. And education was something that my parents emphasized, and my brother and I were the first in our families to go to college. And I thought that, gee whiz, if I could help those who want to go to college, wouldn't that be a wonderful initiative for me to be involved with? And so sat down with Sarah Sprinkle, early childhood expert, and Bill Spoon, principal at Dr. Phillips, and the three of us, mostly them, helped put together what we refer to as the Tangelo Park program.
Okay.
That actually came before the Paramount program we're going to be working on. And so that program, very simplistically, is every 2, 3, and 4-year-old free preschool. And work with the moms and the dads, work with the kids, make sure that they're motivated and enthusiastic about learning. And then those that are accepted, graduated from high school, accepted to technical school, community college, or 4-year public college in Florida, everything is paid for. And so that's a wonderful little program. And the result of that is, and Chuck could give you all of the data, but the result has been that the neighborhood has really been, I think it's fair to say, transformed in a very positive way.
Yeah, and I actually got ahead of myself when I said Paramount, I meant Tangelo Park.
Right.
So, Dr. Dziuban, can you share some of the results that has taken place as a result of the Tangelo Park program and what's happened with those kids' college attendance rates, high school graduation rates?
I'd be happy to, Greg. I think it's very important that you understand that Tangelo is well over 2 decades now. We have historically said, when will it end? And Mr. Rosen has said in perpetuity. However, we are now abandoning in perpetuity. Tangelo Park will continue until it is no longer needed, until the community itself can sustain the idea of what's happened in Tangelo. You understand again clearly what Mr. Rosen and Rosen Foundation have provided: early childhood education beginning at 2 years old, okay, counseling all the way through public school, finding a college, parent leadership training in the community.
And excuse me, great help from University of Central Florida.
Through the University of Central Florida. And we'll talk a little bit about university role in that kind of thing, and the scholarship program, and many, many other things associated with this. This is a wonderful community. This community, in a sense, wanted to take itself back. The citizens are wonderful and committed to their children. 20 years, when those things have been offered, okay, this is what's happened. The children who attend the 2-year-old program, the preschool program, do exceedingly well in school. In fact, we just had a board meeting with Cornell students who do their service learning in Tangelo, and there were 2 graduates there who had attended the 2-year-old program, had gone all the way through and graduated from college and came back. That is just amazing, and there are many of those, okay? So that's true, that has happened. There have been side effects of the program, never expected. Crime rate is down 63% in Tangelo. Crime rates in the country are down, but nothing like that. And they've sustained that. You know, in fact, I believe the sheriff said that Tangelo is now an oasis with respect to crime. Okay, that's happened. The children who go Dr. Phillips High School graduate at a rate of almost 100%. Okay, almost every child in Tangelo graduates from high school. That is phenomenal. That was not the case 20 years ago. That was not even close to the case. Okay. Now this is the interesting part of it. Now children can choose to go to the military. They can choose to go to community college. They can choose to go vocational school. They can go to a 4-year college, paid for. Okay. Of those children who choose to go to a 4-year college, 77% graduate. That's higher than almost any demographic in the country. These things have continued. They're sustained. It is nothing short than phenomenal.
Now, Mr. Rosen, Dr. Dziuban, in a day and age when there seems to be so much emphasis on material wealth, and with this program that you all have created, this is a model for success. And it would seem to me that other areas similar that may have had similar problems, how do we get them to come and take a look at what you have done so that model can be replicated in other places to eliminate a lot of the achievement and income gap that you see?
So I think the simplistic answer would be that's a $64,000 question. Yes. How do we do that? And we've tried. First, we were told, well, you need data. And Chuck and Marcelo at UCF have done a brilliant job in assembling data, statistics. We had Lance Lochner, a professor then at University of Chicago. I want to know from a business perspective, is there a return on investment? Okay. I mean, if you give X, does society receive a return on that? And so he did a wonderful job for us, and ultimately he said, I've never seen data like this before, but for every dollar that you've invested, Harris, society gets back $7. That's unheard of.
Right.
And so it is extraordinarily successful from that perspective. Also, what you're doing, if you want to look at it selfishly as a business person, and say, well, you know, I'm not terribly philanthropic, but so you appeal to their other business sense and you say, look, what you're doing essentially is growing a larger customer base for yourself. Because these youngsters are going to graduate from high school, earn another $500,000 a year, graduate from college, earn another $1 million over their lifetime, I should say, and they're going to be able to spend money in your retail outlet and in your whatever facility you might have. And so think of it that way. And we've spoken to dozens and dozens of individuals, some of them amongst the wealthiest in America. And to date, in 21 years, we've not been able to convince anyone that this is a program that they should be involved with. Sad. We were thinking that maybe the word in perpetuity, the words in perpetuity were a little bit intimidating. And so we're going to strike that from our vocabulary and say, look, when that neighborhood is ready to do exactly what we started, then we're going to say adios.
Yeah, that is amazing. Some of the work that you've done with blended learning, does it play a role as we see kids in American education sort of use a myriad of learning tools to bolster the learning process?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. In a sense, Tangelo is a blended program.
Okay.
It blends the community, it blends the schools, it blends the university to bring the best of all that each of those has to offer.
And the church.
And the church.
And the YMCA.
The church and the YMCA.
Yes, I mean, it is a community. It takes a community. I mean, isn't that essentially right?
It does indeed. Absolutely, because you were mentioning off camera, you know, new learning modes, new learning styles, how technology has influenced these. These children need every opportunity. We know in our hearts that the talent pool in Tangelo Park in Paramore is as deep as any other community in the country. It just has to be given a chance to develop.
The intellectual talent pool.
Right. The intellectual talent. We know it's there.
We know it's there.
You will see Tangelo on the 27th of June. There's going to be an alumni reunion of Tangelo graduates. They will come back.
Very good.
And they will testify, in a sense, to how the Tangelo Park program has impacted their lives. In fact, the alumni have now formed an alumni association of Tangelo who are now mentoring the children in Tangelo Park.
That is totally awesome. Speaking of mentoring, you do a program called the Alternative Spring Break Program, Cornell. So I see that you're still tied to your college roots. So tell me how you convince college kids to come and give back so they feel good.
It really wasn't me doing any convincing at all.
Okay.
And I must confess this, that I do give back to Cornell. We do have a program at the hospitality school, the hotel school for wounded warriors. And we do have this alternate spring break program. I think their feelings were a little bit hurt that we decided to do the Rosen Hospitality College here in Orlando. But we did it because this is my home, and I thought it was the appropriate thing to do. But yeah, it is absolutely amazing what we see. It is really quite extraordinary.
And regarding standards, earlier we were talking about, and I'm not going to get into any political debate, but just in terms of there's a big saying, college and career readiness. Okay, so are a lot of the kids that you're seeing coming out of high school, I know one of the things that you want to do is give kids a good college education. Are people coming to you college and career ready, or is there some additional training needed? Just in terms of just talking about raising the standards.
So in my little business, yeah, listen, I think we're discovering that the vast majority of those who are applying for work are ready.
Okay.
Do they need to learn a little bit about our culture? Yes, because our culture is a little bit different than some of the other organizations in town. But other than that, eager, willing, and quite able to jump right in and do their job. So I think education, at least here, as I perceive it in Central Florida, doing a great job.
Education. I'm a former teacher and school administrator, and sometimes I'll have a conversation with little kids. And the answer, what do you want to be when you grow up? okay, I still hear, well, excuse me, I want to be an athlete or an entertainer. What can we do to let kids know that there's a link between education and economic success beyond the stuff that they see on TV that influences them? So
well,
much?
I think you can go back to Tangelo and look at an important component of it. There's a counselor at Dr. Phillips High School who works with these children on a daily basis. One is expecting excellence.
Okay.
We expect excellence of our students. We expect nothing but the very best in Tangelo. Secondly, what it is you have to make reasonable, conscious decisions and choices. If you want to be an astronaut, then you need to take science and math. This is very important in the process. Our children do not think magically. They do not think I'm going to be a basketball player or I'm going to be, they think about their career and their life long term. And I think a really good example of that we didn't mention about Tangelo is historically, Tangelo provided the majority of its funds for the college scholarship program.
Mm-hmm.
That has changed.
Okay.
That has changed because the students in Tangelo now are getting their own scholarship, and Mr. Rosen's scholarship program has become essentially a safety net. They're getting scholarships for athletics, for academics, for all kinds of things, and they, in a sense, do not have to rely solely on the Rosen Scholarship any longer. And that's a function of good counseling, good teaching, and this expectation of excellence.
Mm-hmm. Educational standards, Mr. Rosen, in terms of the achievement gap, because it seems that what you guys are doing, you've closed that achievement gap. So when you started the whole Tangelo Park project, because you're in hospitality,
right.
So what made you want to choose education as a societal thing to invest in?
Look, it was something that my mom and dad emphasized.
Mm-hmm.
They kept saying, if you and your brother want to get out of the neighborhood,
mm-hmm.
the way out is through education. So we did well in high school and went to college and worked hard in college. And so that kind of memory has been with me for all of my life. Education, education, education. It's not necessarily income inequality.
No.
I think it's educational inequality.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so if you want to level the playing field,
okay,
it seems to me that what you do is you emphasize education and make sure that every youngster, I know this sounds a little bit presumptuous, but every youngster who wants to go to college is qualified to go to college, who wants to go and is qualified has that opportunity. If we did that in the United States of America, we wouldn't recognize ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine if every underserved community in America had a Tangelo Park program,
mm-hmm.
how America would change? We'd have to close prisons, right?
Yeah, I just don't understand why it's not being replicated, which is one of the frustrating things.
Neither do we.
In education, because you're a researcher.
Absolutely.
And I don't understand how in education that we don't replicate more of these programs that work. What can we get? Because if you look at President Obama's My Brother's Keepers initiative, mm-hmm. well, they're asking, well, we want programs out there, and I don't understand why your program has not been featured, and maybe it has, but I'm just saying, hey guys, I'll raise my hand, I can show you one right here mm-hmm. in Orlando. So how can we get educators to take a better look at the data that is showing success?
Well, this is a very interesting question, Greg. How about they don't want data? We've heard this time and time and time again from the beginning of Tangelo, because at Harris's behest, we didn't do a lot with Tangelo until we knew what was happening. Mm-hmm. Then as we began to encounter all kinds of success, we're saying, well, maybe we better get some data. And we began collecting the data, and the narrative went something like this: I need more data, I need more data, I need more data. So we have data on college graduation, crime rates, high school graduation rates, achievement in school, parent leadership, mm-hmm. return on investment 7 to 1. Mm-hmm. How much data do you want?
Exactly.
What else can we give you? So we have come to understand that when people say more data, it's a euphemism for we don't want to do this. Because if my thinking on this is many of these programs are these sort of superficial, broad-based programs that last for 1 or 2 years. Mm-hmm. If we change our thinking, instead of doing that, what Mr. Rosen just said, instead of doing that, these wide-based programs clearly don't work. And we move on to the next one. Let's do it like he said. Let's do one community at a time. He'll talk about the numbers in terms of what he spent. It's a bargain. Tangelo Park is a bargain, and Paramore will be a bargain as well.
And then the interesting thing is that we're not asking for funding from the public sector. What we're trying to do is encourage the private sector to simply do the right thing. Do the right thing.
Sure.
I mean, we are perceived, the wealthy component in America, by many, maybe some or most, as being greedy and selfish and not wanting to offer a helping hand. And we can change that overnight. All we have to do as a group is say, we're going to go where our office is, where our arena is, where a stadium is, where we live, and we're going to adopt a neighborhood nearby. And we're going to do what Rosen has done in Orlando.
Yeah, it's funny. I was reading a report the other day, and it costs more to house a person in prison in a year's time than it does to educate them. So it would seem to me that the money would be better spent on education.
Well, about $150,000 a year in incarceration, and we're spending maybe $5,000 a year to do what we're doing. I mean, it's absurd. And we're not saying public sector, please help. We're saying private sector, listen to us. Be selfish. These are potential customers of yours.
Absolutely.
I mean, build your customer base. And it is so incredibly frustrating, and we don't know what the answer is. Why haven't others who we've spoken to, some of whom expressed a sincere interest and then have just faded? Why? We don't know.
Well, I'm certainly going to see if I can keep that conversation going.
We appreciate that.
I have just a heartfelt, when I keep reading stats, and we know what the stats are, but you guys have real solutions.
Oh, absolutely.
Real solutions.
We have a real solution. It's interesting because at our Cornell meeting, I mentioned, and some of the students were aware of, Stanford just announced that if the family income of an incoming student is less than $125,000, tuition will be free at Stanford University. That is great, but it's too late. It is way too late in the process. You have to start at 2 years old. You have to begin the educational process, the valuing of the educational process, and the nurturing of students all the way through. You have to learn how to learn.
And all you have to do really is visit Tangelo Park and go to our little preschool program and ask one of the 2 or 3 year olds to please read a book that's there, and they'll read it absolutely fluently. And you'll say, my God, and then you'll say, this is happening potentially in every single underserved community in America. Why are we letting it? Why are we letting it happen? Why can't we get in there and do something about it?
Well, you guys are
21 years. This is not 21 months. This is not 3 years. This is 21 years.
I actually have another reason beside the data they don't want. Tangelo is too simple. It's not complicated.
so simple you can't believe it.
Well, Harris will be the first to tell you. I mean, in terms of the way decisions are made, there's no organization, there's no organizational chart, virtually no one is paid. Everyone who works and comes to a community board meeting is a volunteer. You know, I mean, it is like nothing you've ever seen. How does the funds get expended? Rosen Foundation pays the bills. Foundations will ask us for an organizational chart. There is none. We just get together and do business. I mean, it's simple.
We do have a board.
We have a board.
And we get together about once a month.
Yeah.
And we KISS. We keep it simple.
Yeah.
That story is just absolutely amazing because, like you said, it's simple. You invest in kids when they're young, which is what you've done
Absolutely.
with the pre-K.
Absolutely.
And once they do well in school, you give them some additional support.
Absolutely.
So that they could go on to become educated. And some of those kids, I would imagine, there's a generational change in terms of maybe being the first kid to go to college.
Absolutely.
And that must really excite you when you see that.
Look, what really excites me, we have a graduation every year. The 2 and 3 year olds graduate from preschool on their way to kindergarten. I try to get to every one of them. Moms and dads are there, grandma and grandpa are there. It's either in the church or in the library. and everyone is at caps and gowns, and my job is to turn the little tassel.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
right. These little guys. And I say every year the same thing. Moms and dads, grandmas, grandpas, get used to it. Get used to what? Get used to graduations. Because these youngsters graduate from middle school, from high school, and from college, and get their master's and doctorate. It's going to happen.
Guiding principle. Okay, one of the things that I was taught growing up in rural Florida was to never quit. No matter what, you never quit. What is your guiding principle? What keeps you going with wanting to do good and to improve things and to improve the quality of life to people through education?
Well, I'm going to answer it in a very simple way. Growing up, my brother and I were taught to always try to do the right thing. And so that's what we try to do. We always try to do the right thing. And the right thing is when you've been blessed, as I have been, and reach a point where you can start providing assistance to those that need a helping hand. Do it. Do it. Do it. It's as simple as that.
And I see that moving from Tangelo, but still staying within that same framework. You're going to take the model and replicate it in Paramore. Tell me about that partnership. I think it's what, UCF, Boys Club, OCPS. Tell me about that.
Well, you want to tell about your frustrations?
Well, look. We were waiting for someone to say, okay, we'll do this in Baltimore, or we'll do it in Chicago, or we'll do it in the Lower East Side, and it didn't happen. So we kept asking the Cornell youngsters, is this replicable? I mean, can we replicate this program? And there was some hemming and hawing. Well, this is kind of a rural environment, Tangelo. We're not so sure that in an urbanized city environment this will work. So I said to myself, you know, if it happens, if we are presented with an opportunity to replicate this program in an urban setting, we're going to jump on it. Now, it turns out Paramore is about 6 times the size as Tangelo in terms of 2-3-year-olds, in terms of high school graduates. But you know what? We're going to do it. And we're going to demonstrate to the world that we can do it in a small rural community, and we can also do it in an urban area. And once we prove that, there are no excuses. No one can say, well, Tangelo is small. You only got about 70 kids in preschool and maybe 75 in college. Now we're going to say we've got 200 or 300 in college, and we've got about 200 to 300 in preschool, and it works, and it has transformed the neighborhood. That's what we have to do, and that's why we're doing it again.
It will be Tangelo at scale.
Very good.
That's exactly
It seems that you all have inspired the rest of the players to come on board. There are a lot of great things happening here in education here in Central Florida.
Absolutely.
The downtown campus with UCF and the support. So you want to expound on that?
My university has supported Mr. Rosen and his efforts in Tangelo as long as we've been involved. It changes the role of the university. We are convinced that Paramore will be as or more successful than Tangelo.
Well, gentlemen, it has certainly been a pleasure, and we have to do it again sometimes.
Thank you,
sir.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you,
We
sir.
appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for joining us again on EduTV. Good night.
I am for the child who's had 7 addresses in a single year because she's in foster care, because her father abused her, and her mother couldn't believe her. She is the child I am for. I am a volunteer child advocate. I am you.
Florida residents call toll-free 866-341-1425.
My name is Ninmari Zapata, and I am a Latina role model because I believe that you can overcome any circumstances that come in your way and be the best version of yourself.
Hello, I'm Sandra Rivera, and I'm a Latina role model. Whatever your struggles are in life, whatever you don't have or don't have access to, don't use that as an excuse for not pursuing your dreams and moving forward. Get out of your own way and get out of your comfort zone, and you will be amazed at the growth that you will experience.